Welcome back to Semper Fi. I'm speaking to my guest, Tom Waters, Dr. Waters, Lieutenant Colonel Waters. And we were talking about his duty station, about his best one. I'm still trying to find out which was your best duty station.
I had some fantastic duty assignments. So Guam was a good one when I was Deputy Commander for Logistics. But I can go back and talk about when I was the Illinois State Admissions Counselor for Air Force Academy and Air Force ROTC. I was stationed at the Illinois Institute of Technology, and as I mentioned earlier, that's also where I graduated from with my bachelor's degree. So going back home, being stationed at home was fantastic because I was stationed right on the campus. But I was a captain, and when they first offered me the job, I hadn't heard anything else about being an admissions counselor. But as they said, my boss was a colonel stationed in Ohio. I didn't work for the colonel that was at the school. He was there, but I had a separate assignment, although I treated him like my boss. I had blanket TDY orders. I could go anywhere in the country I wanted or anywhere in the world I wanted. I had my own budget. I had an Air Force car to drive wherever I wanted. And the primary job of the Illinois State Admissions Counselor was appearing on radio and television to talk about the program. I also had 30 reserve officers working for me. Wow. 106, 205s, and lots of captains and lieutenants. But I had 30 officers, and I couldn't get used to, I was a captain at the time, an Air Force captain, and I couldn't get used to a colonel calling me sir.
That's a rare commodity.
I wrote his annual report. In fact,
You wrote the colonel's report?
I wrote the colonel's report. As an active duty officer, I was in charge, and they understood that. But I also have to tell about the time the colonel, which, since I wrote his report and since I gave him the guidance of what he was supposed to do, I knew I was in charge. And sometimes when you find that, you find it kind of goes to your head. I didn't want it to go to my head, but and I didn't think it had. But there were times when he made suggestions that I felt that I didn't want him to do that. And so sometimes we bumped heads. Of course, since I was the boss, he had to do what I said. A colonel.
Still getting used to that one.
But we were at the Air Force Academy once summer, and he made the decision. He made a decision of how we were going to have our program, and we had all the officers from around the country, all the admissions counselors. There were only 39 in the entire country, and we were having a meeting, and we had a general there, a one-star general who was with the ROTC program.
All right.
And we were told by a three-star general that we were going to have to move because he had preempted our meeting. Now we've got all these people came into the Air Force Academy from all over the country, and he's telling us, you've got to move, find another place somewhere else, but I'm preempting your meeting. And with the three-star general talking to our one-star, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. And the people are there, they're frustrated, and so Hollis, the colonel that worked for me, he said, well, maybe I can help. And I'm thinking, we got a general here, Colonel. How in the world, I didn't say it, but I was thinking it. How in the world are you going to do anything? So he goes over to the phone, he picks up the phone, and he says, George, this is Hollis. I just hope you can help me with this. This is our situation. So he explained the situation to whoever this guy George was, and I said, okay. He said, okay, this is the number I am, and let me know if you can do anything for us. So it wasn't 20 minutes later. Secretary comes in and says, Colonel, it was Hollis Hatfield, Colonel Hatfield, got a call from you from the Vice President of the United States, George Bush. He picks up the phone, yeah, George. Yeah, George, okay, thanks a lot. And he told everybody, okay, we can stay. The three-star is going to find another location. And so I'm sitting there thinking, and I was bumping heads with who? So those are some of the, like I said, the jobs I've had have just been phenomenal.
That's an interesting
and
one.
That wasn't so embarrassing as the first one.
We talked earlier about keeping an ace up your sleeve,
yes,
right?
Yes.
He's got the VP.
But Hollis and I we became very good friends. And I didn't challenge him as much after that. So it was great.
You still keep in touch with him?
No, he passed away.
I'm sorry to hear.
It was one of those things, but I stayed in touch with his wife, and then we lost some things as I kept moving around.
And that happens.
Yeah.
Paperwork and things just drop away.
It was, in fact, I stayed in touch with most of the senior officers in that reserve units.
That's good.
Because they were such good guys. Again, I was a young captain. These were older gentlemen. It was tough. In fact, one lieutenant colonel, trying to think of his name, but he challenged me on something, and I told him I wanted it done my way. And I really felt my way was the right way. And actually, in hindsight, my way was the right way.
Right.
And he disagreed with me and said, well, if that's the way you want it, then I'm not going to work for you anymore. I quit. So I said, okay, if that's the way you feel. So he walked out of my office, he slammed the door. He's a lieutenant colonel, I'm a captain. And so he walked out of my office at the school. And I'm sitting there thinking, that was a dumb thing for him to do. And I'm thinking, you know, if he wants to stay in the reserves and work in the admissions foreign admissions counselor, I'm the only one in the Illinois area.
Yeah.
All the others are scattered across the country. So unless he's going to move, he's got to work for me.
Any transfer has to go through you.
That's right. And that's why I said it's kind of a dumb move.
Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
So it was about 20 minutes later, the secretary told me he was still sitting in his car outside. And so he came back in. He said, Captain, I apologize. He said, that was a dumb thing for me to do. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I want to stay in this program. It's an outstanding program. And the only people I can work for is you. He said, so to say what I said, he said, I'll try it your way. He said, if it doesn't work, I just want you to know I will come back and let you know that it's not working.
Right.
But he did come back and tell me, he said, nope, that was the right decision. So it was.
So they were all reservists, and you were the only one that was active duty as a captain? That's why they all had to fall into your realm. Yeah, that's why. Like I just see a colonel standing behind you, rubbing his hands together, looking at an evaluation, going, did you do okay with me? Am I good?
And they were super. I had super officers, and that's how I got promoted to major, because of that. They said it was the best program. The Chicago program was the best program in the country, and it was because of them that got me promoted. They felt I was taking care of them, but they were really taking care of me. It was just an outstanding job. And I went from there to a headquarters air training command in Texas, and from there I went to field training detachment as first as just an officer, and then as the guy in charge of all of their assets, their buildings, hiring their commanders.
Wow.
Like I said, I've had some outstanding assignments and thoroughly enjoyed every one except for Vietnam. And Vietnam, again, was when I was enlisted.
Yeah.
I could tell you some of those things where I almost got court-martialed, but we don't want to go into that. I was a cocky NCO, and most NCOs are going to be cocky, I know that.
The first couple stripes.
I was an E6. I had felt that Vietnam had treated me okay. I had not been wounded. I had 6 days to go, and we won't go into some of the other things that happened in Vietnam, but I had, on the flight line, everybody knows when you're around airplanes, you don't drive fast. I was doing about 35 miles an hour on the flight line. The speed limit is 5.
Okay.
So I was 30 miles over the speed limit, and a major pulled up. Again, I'm E6, tech sergeant. A major pulled up behind me and yelled, "Sergeant!" And I looked at him, yeah, not yes, sir, yeah. And he said, "Do you know how fast you were going on the flight line?" And I looked at him and said, 6 days. And he said, "What did you say?" 6 days. That's what I had left in Vietnam. And what can you do to me in 6 days? Not a whole lot.
Don't want to find out, do you?
Well, not a whole lot. So he just got in his Jeep and drove away. He could see he was not going to deal with me. And that night is when I got my Purple Heart. So I probably should not have mouthed off to that major. You know, I look back and say, well, you know, it's not good to mouth off to it. to an officer.
How fast you going? Yeah, 6 days. 6 miles? No, 6 days.
So, but again, yeah, that night I got my Purple Heart, and then got back to the States.
That's something. Is that one of your short timer terms, 6 days? They had the short timer stories back then?
Oh,
too?
we had short timer stories. We had the short time,
short.
the maps and everything else. I'm so short I could sit on the curb and swing my legs.
Sit on a dime and dangle my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walk under a pregnant snake.
There you go. Oh, gee. It was fun. Again, my career, my entire career, I thoroughly enjoyed.
That's something. 32 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Both sides of the fence, and you made as high as you did. Yeah, my hat is off to you.
And again, I did
Impressive.
turn down 06, promotion 06. And I turned that down just so I could use my doctorate. And that's when I went into education, got my license here in the state of Nevada, also licensed to teach in Nevada or in Illinois, and also on the island of Guam.
That's something else. That is good. Well, I think that's about all the time we have today, Colonel. Thank you for being on the show. And remember, 5,000 veterans in Nye County, you got a story. I want to hear it, and I want to share it with everyone else, just like the doctor did. And I thank you for your service, sir.
Well,
And thank you for being on the show.
thanks for the invite, and I'm very glad to be here and glad to see the audience out there.
Thank you much. Have a good day. Hoorah. Semper Fi.